What if Doctor Who hadn't been axed in 1989? That is something many have tried to guess at, and now it's my turn. I'll be going through this concept at the rate of 1 season per episode. These videos are based on stories from the Virgin New Adventures, Big Finish Productions, the television movie, unused Doctor Who episodes, and a lot, and I mean a lot, of guesswork. Season 35, a new era of the show, the newest it probably would have been since 1990. Gone are Stephen Garwood and Ben Aronovich, and in come the new boys, who are producer Chris Sanderman, who was the last few seasons' assistant floor manager, and script editor Stephen Moffat, who had written some of the past season's most successful stories. Sanderman wanted to take the show in a new direction as he felt it had become a little of a low-class show and had a stigma of being a cheesy British sci-fi show, even though it had just got quite popular in America. His first change was to update the way the show looked. Gone was the multi-camera shooting method Doctor Who and most of TV had used since forever, and in came the new single-camera film shooting style, which had only previously been used on location filming. Now the show would be recorded digitally instead of on videotape and film. Another change was the show's move to a 16:9 aspect ratio instead of a 4:3 aspect ratio. This was becoming more and more common at the time, and by the early 2000s every show on the BBC used this format. Another addition to the show was that the new companion would be Sammy Thompson, played by Jennifer Lean, of Star Trek Voyager fame. The BBC was still pushing for the show to reach a more mainstream American audience, so she was included. Sammy would be a complete opposite to Lean's character Kes on Star Trek Voyager, and she was to be a little more hands-on. A further change was the title sequence. Sanderman felt that while the previous title sequence was good, it simply wasn't Doctor Who. It was far too slow and didn't have the feeling of let's go on an adventure with the Doctor. So what he did is he kept the slow theme section at the start, but primarily used the faster, more upbeat section used on the end credits previously. Also, he changed the logo for the first time since 1990. It was now very different and made use of the wide screen as it stretched out quite far, but was still 4:3 safe with the text. Also, a few behind the scenes production changes were made, but they didn't really affect the feel of the show that much. After losing Grace, the Doctor is feeling very depressed. All hope is lost. He never keeps a companion. All of them go. He lost a friend. All the time. One day, sitting on his armchair in the TARDIS, reading, and one of the most peculiar things happened. One of the Doctor's previous companions, Jamie McCrimmon, appeared right before his eyes. He told the Doctor to go to Scotland, 1746. Castle McCrimmon. A deep mystery must be solved. And who's this Sammy? Why have there been reports of big furry men killing Highlanders? Who really owns Castle McCrimmon? This story features the return of former Doctor Who companion Jamie McCrimmon. It would have been a historical piece which would have introduced a new historical companion, Sammy, a widowed traveller from America had come to Scotland and was residing at Castle McCrimmon. This story also started the trend of Sandman's Doctor Who stories having very long and sometimes silly titles, reminiscent of cheesy 1970s films. President Romano is dead. Gallifrey has fallen. The Outsiders have taken over. More specifically than that, deranged outsider scientists have genetically engineered themselves into cat people. The killer cats of Gang Sing have taken Gallifrey, and they won't give it back. The revolution has come, and the Doctor is right in the middle of it. Gallifrey in the 90s would have been like Unit in the 70s. Instead of the Doctor visiting them every couple of years like he is visiting them a couple of times every year, and this is just the latest in a long line. This, however, is the last story featuring Romana, as this story kills her off. It is quite bonkers and mad, but overall it does work. It's nice that something different was done with Gallifrey, and it introduces Sammy to the concept of regeneration straight away. Alert, alert. Regeneration in progress nearby. That's all the Doctor finds out from the TARDIS. Another Time Lord? That's what it must be. But the Doctor instead finds the elite of the Doomraths, emerging, reconstituted, as a shimmery metal columns with many moving strips and deadly purpose. The Wraths find that the human evolution has failed, and mankind has not taken on their form. They will thus release a plague to destroy humanity, relocate the missing section of the genetic code, and repopulate Earth themselves. This story challenges mankind a lot. What if we were just a failed experiment? What if we were never meant to become what we are? It's easily the most cerebral Doctor Who story ever, and it works. The Doctor is faced with a moral dilemma. Should he help the Doomraths clear up their mess, or save mankind? In 2018, the world is about to be overwhelmed by a disaster that might destroy human civilization. The inversion of the Earth's magnetic field. Deep in an Antarctic base, the Flipback team is frantically devising a system to reverse the change in polarity. Above them, the SS Elysium carries its jet-set passengers on the ultimate cruise. On board is Ruri Duval, a journalist sent to record the Flipback moment. Instead, she finds a man called the Doctor and his old enemies, Silver Men, who are at work beneath the ice. This story features the Cybermen back in full force. It harkens back to the 10th planet quite a lot, but does it in a way which benefits the story. It also sends an environmental message, as well as showing what our future may look like in, at that point, 20 years' time. En route to Proxima B, the starship Hellswaits, carrying a vaccine to a deadly virus, encounters a strange, flying, rotating blue box. Its captain, Captain Samuel Betts, orders the blue box to surrender. The Doctor agrees, although he is not happy with their hostility. As he talks to the captain, they agree they meant no harm. They let him on his way, but before the Doctor gets back to the TARDIS, something really bad happens. Because of the energy emitted by the TARDIS on board the ship, the vaccine has mutated into a deadly creature, looking to kill them all. So, Moffat and Sandman decided, because the BBC told them to make a Doctor Who more like Star Trek, They would hire one of Star Trek's most celebrated writers and directors to write an episode, who'd be Nicholas Meyer. Meyer took this brief they gave them, Doctor Who does Star Trek, quite literally, and did write Doctor Who does Star Trek. It is a very mad story. Because of the quality of Meyer's writing, it still holds up, but the plot doesn't quite make sense and it does seem like it's trying so hard, but the writing does make it watchable. On a world of harmless peace for over a millennium, the unthinkable happens. Just as the Doctor and Sammy arrive on the planet, war breaks out between the ugly-looking Trikes and the beautiful Penelopans. People blame the Doctor and Sammy for the war, but what could they possibly have to do with it? And how can they prove their innocence? This story challenges the idea of war. It shows how it can be pretty stupid and how those who start it put the blame on innocent people who just happen to be there. It also tackles prejudice ideals. All of this in a story as well as a compelling courtroom drama. When the Doctor and Sammy are redecorating the TARDIS, the Doctor notices something. Behind the wallpaper was an older piece. A piece with faces on. Moving faces in the patterns. The Doctor sets course for Earth 5063, London. He took the wallpaper to an old friend, and they realised that they were aliens from another dimension who wanted to get their hands on a time machine. This is easily the cheap episode of the series. It takes place all in studio and just has one central sci-fi idea. The most money spent on this was the miniature of London 5063 and the patterned wallpaper. It does, however, have a very good and creepy central idea. Sammy notices something odd with the Doctor. He seems on the surface to be acting perfectly normally, but he just isn't acting quite right. So Sammy investigates. She discovers a conspiracy far greater than she could have possibly imagined. One woven throughout her life by the Doctor, except she can't confront him, as the man on board isn't the Doctor, he's a duplicate. This season would have been the first to really have a proper story arc, and this would have been the manipulation of Sammy. It turns out that somewhere between this story and the last, the Doctor was placed with a duplicate whose main feature was the fact that he had a hollow head. It also has a lot of scenes set on Gallifrey with the new president trying to explain and justify to Sammy what has been done. Would have been a nice, dark and brutal end to the series, and really would have pushed the boundaries of the show. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Please subscribe for more episodes. Until then, click here to view previous episodes. Also, if you'd like to view full title sequences and end credits, please click here for the link to my extra channel.